You lift the lid on day 10 expecting a fat cluster of oyster mushrooms, and instead, there are tiny pale worms threading their way out of the block. Those are fungus gnat larvae, and by the time you can see them wriggling, they have been eating your grow from the inside for the better part of a week. Nobody prints that on the glossy box, the one with the perfect harvest on the front. So before you spend another dollar on a kit this year, know this: when a grow dies like that, it is almost never your fault. Most failed home grows fail for reasons baked into the product before you ever touched it. And those reasons cluster into 5 recognizable types of kit. Learn to spot them on the shelf and you save yourself money, counter space, and that sinking feeling of misting a dead brick twice a day while nothing happens. Let's start with the one that fools almost everybody because it hides in plain sight on the label. You have seen these. The box says gourmet mushroom blend or grow your own exotic mushrooms with a gorgeous photo of some cluster you cannot quite name. People grab it because mystery feels fun and premium, but nobody points out the real problem. A kit that will not tell you the exact species is a kit that cannot help you when something goes sideways. Oyster, lion's mane, and shiitake want completely different humidity, different air, different patience. If you do not know which one is sleeping inside that block, you're flying blind the moment it stalls. There is a quieter trick underneath. That mysterious exotic blend is often just pearl oyster, the cheapest species to produce, dressed up in nicer packaging. Pearl oyster, called shiitake in Japan, is a fantastic beginner mushroom. It is just not worth a premium mystery markup. What you want instead is simple. Buy the kit that prints a real name on the side: Pleurotus austriatus, Hericium erinaceus. If a company is proud enough to name the species and even the strain, that usually tells you they know what is in the bag. One detail trips up beginners more than any other, and it points straight at the next kit. Not all oyster mushrooms are the same animal. Pink oyster is a tropical species, Pleurotus jamor, and it will basically shrug off your refrigerator and rot instead of resting. Gray and blue oyster love the cold. Same oyster name on the label, totally different rules once it's on your counter. Which brings us to the kit that was probably doomed before it shipped. Picture the wall of grow kits at a big hardware store or garden center. Cheerful, inexpensive, stacked 10 deep. The thing nobody at the register can tell you is how long that block has been sitting there. A grow kit is a living thing, and it has a clock. Fully colonized blocks are happiest when they are used fresh. Northspore, one of the bigger cultivation suppliers, tells customers to fruit their blocks within about a week of arrival, or park them in the fridge. A block that has spent 3 months on a warm store shelf has been quietly burning through its own food supply, a slow exhaustion growers call senescence. By the time you get it home, the mycelium can be tired, weak, or already losing to mold. This is the kit that shows up sour and heavy with liquid, or grows a sad handful of tough, stringy mushrooms and then quits. Reviewers of the popular big box oyster kits describe exactly this over and over. One person followed the directions to the letter and harvested barely 2 ounces of chewy mushrooms. Plenty of people report the second flush producing nothing at all. That is not a curse. That is an old, dried-out block. So what do you do instead? Buy fresh and buy direct when you can. Order from a producer who ships blocks soon after colonizing, not whatever has been marinating under store lights since spring. When your kit arrives, if life gets in the way, do not leave it on the counter. Slide it into the fridge, somewhere around 35 to 40 degrees, which presses pause on that internal clock and can buy you weeks. One hard rule, though: never freeze a block. Ice crystals shred the mycelium, and a frozen kit is a dead kit. Now, quick reality check on yields, because this is where the marketing gets slippery. That harvest in 10 days, fresh mushrooms on your counter promise sets people up to feel cheated. A realistic first flush from a standard kit is often around 1/3 of a pound, sometimes less. When you do the math against the price, a lot of these kits cost about what a pound of the same mushroom runs at a decent grocery store, except the store version does not require 2 weeks of misting. That does not make kits worthless. Watching a lion's mane bloom on your windowsill is a real thrill, and it teaches you more about fungi than any article. Just walk in expecting a fun science project with a small edible bonus, not a grocery replacement. This is a good moment to talk about the word premium, because it is doing a lot of heavy lifting on kit number 3. Some kits arrive in beautiful, heavy boxes, linen look printing, a leatherish cord, a tiny amber mister, a little booklet with nice fonts. And tucked inside all that is a surprisingly small block of sawdust and soybean hulls. You paid $35, maybe $40, and most of that money went into the unboxing experience, not the mushrooms. Jeff Chilton, who co-wrote The Mushroom Cultivator in 1983 and spent a decade running commercial mushroom production before founding an extract company, has spent years pushing back on this in the supplement world. His point travels well. In mushrooms, cheap filler and clever branding hide behind premium language all the time, and the only defense is knowing what the product really is. For a grow kit, the actual product is a colonized block. That is it. A plain, bagged fruiting block from a spawn supplier gives you the same living mycelium, often more of it, for a fraction of the fancy box price. And if you want to go one step further, oyster mushrooms will happily colonize pasteurized straw or even spent coffee grounds. Save your grounds for a week, pasteurize them with hot water, mix in a little oyster spawn, and you have made your own kit for pocket change. Care less about the packaging and more about how fresh the block is. Your results climb while your spending drops. Alright, kit number 4 is the sneakiest because it is not lying exactly, it's just leaving out the hard part. These are the kits stamped perfect for beginners that are secretly demanding little divas. Lion's mane, shiitake in Japan, wants humidity up around 85 to 95% and a steady stream of fresh air, a few air changes an hour. Skimp on the fresh air, and instead of that beautiful white pom-pom, you get a stringy, coral-looking tangle that never forms properly. One more quirk that catches people. You are not supposed to mist lion's mane directly because water sitting on the fruit turns it brown and mushy. Everything you learned on oysters is slightly wrong here. Reishi belongs on this list too, called lingji in China. It is the pretty one, but it is slow, sometimes taking a couple of months, and its shape is a direct readout of the air around it. Trap the carbon dioxide, and it grows tall, red, antler-like fingers. Give it fresh air, and it flattens into the classic shelf. Beginners who expected an oyster speed grow panic when their reishi just sits there looking like coral for weeks. It is doing fine. It is just reishi. Shiitake, known as shangu in China, hides a similar surprise. A shiitake block often has to turn fully brown before it will fruit, which can take months, and a beginner staring at a brown block assumes it died and tosses a perfectly healthy kit in the trash. None of these are bad mushrooms. They are just wrong as a first mushroom. If you are starting out, start with a plain gray, blue, or pearl oyster block. Oysters are forgiving. They are fast, they tolerate imperfect conditions, and a cheap plastic humidity tent with a few holes poked in it is often enough to keep them happy. Nail that once, and then graduate to the divas. Which leads to the 5th and final kit, the one that fails for a reason that has nothing to do with the kit's quality at all. This is the kit that ignores where you live. 2 versions of this. First, the tropical species kit sold to someone in a cold climate, or the cold-loving species shipped to someone whose apartment sits at a toasty 78 degrees all winter. Pink oyster and a chilly garage will barely move. A cold-loving strain in a hot, dry, heated room will pin weakly and dry out before it finishes. The box never mentions this because the box does not know your thermostat. The second version is the spore kit that promises you can grow from scratch. Growing from a spore syringe on sterilized grain is a real, wonderful hobby, but it demands close to lab-level cleanliness, and handing it to a beginner as a first project sets them up to grow a jar of green mold instead of mushrooms. That green invader, trichoderma, is the most common contaminant in home growing, and it can overrun a weak or exposed grow in a day or two. A finished colonized block skips the riskiest chapter entirely because the mushroom already won the territory before it reached you. So, one move before you buy anything. Spend a few dollars on a little hygrometer and measure your room. Learn your real temperature and humidity, then match the species to your home instead of to a pretty picture. That one habit quietly fixes more failed grows than any gadget. Pull it all together, and the pattern is clear. Avoid the mystery label blend, the aging big box block, the overpriced premium box, the Diva sold as a beginner, and the kit that does not fit your climate. Buy fresh, buy named, buy simple, and start with Oyster. Do that, and your first grow has a real shot at ending with a pan of mushrooms instead of a compost bin. If this video is informative, then comment yes. That motivates us to produce more videos like this. Tell me below which kit burned you, because you are not the only one.